Hey everybody, so you all seemed to really like my last video where I rated all the Aetherites in Final Fantasy XIV out of 10, and because you asked for it, I'm now going to do a video where I rate all the in-rooms in Final Fantasy XIV out of 10. Now, before we start, you might be saying, wait, who asked for this? So I thought that we would start in Limsa Lominsa because it's the in-room that I use by far the most. However, I thought it would be kind of interesting to start out outside the inn just to get a little lay of the land, because right outside the inn is this nice little pub or restaurant area, and I think it looks nice, and also it's funny that the tables are so far apart because it's like everybody who's eating here is in time out. So heading on into the inn room, I have some pretty mixed feelings about this room, to be honest with you. I don't know what it says about me that I keep returning to something that I don't feel super positive about, but that's not what this video is about. But just starting off, you're met face to face with this big fake window, and I don't like that very much. I usually like fake scenery in games. I think it's charming, but this is just faking the ability to even see scenery, and I think that Square Enix is trying to fool me and trick me, and I'm smarter than that. I know what a window looks like, and this ain't one. It's just a big glowing texture, and it makes me feel like I'm in jail, some sort of digital jail. And enhancing that fun jail atmosphere is the fact that this room is sort of just carved into the side of a cliff. It makes me feel like I'm in a pirate jail, which is a fun vibe. And another big plus, this isn't going to seem like a big plus, but then in hindsight, you're going to be like, wow, that was a big plus in hindsight, which is that there's a table and a chair, which means that there's a place to sit that's not just the bed, so it feels like I can hang out in here for a while. So this one overall gets a 6 out of 10, and that's not super positive, but it's just that window makes me mad. The big window is bad. This should be a real window, in my opinion, but it does win points for being jail-themed, and chair is good, so 6 out of 10. Okay, moving into Gridania, and once again, we're just gonna take a quick look at the outside area. It has this fun, sort of wooden, I guess, restaurant. I don't actually know what this establishment is. Like, again, there's some tables that are really far apart, but I don't know, like, where the kitchen would be. They're eating food, but then you go downstairs, and it's just like an airport. It's just the airship landing, so I don't really understand the day-to-day comings and goings of what this building is, but for our purposes, it's an inn. So we're just gonna talk to Mother Mion, and wait, I thought she was the innkeeper. Okay, just kidding. We're actually gonna talk to the real innkeeper, whose name is Antoinot. So moving into the actual room, I think it immediately just has good, cozy vibes. Maybe a bit of a fire hazard, because just everything is wood, which is historically pretty flammable, but this room has 2 big plus points that I like a lot, and you're probably already looking at it right now, but it's got, well, the window is actually still fake. I'm doing my best to not look at the fake window, and let my blood boil and seethe and rage, but we'll try to ignore the fake window, which is still so insulting, and look instead at the nice blue curtains and the nice green rug, which I feel like against the wood of it all. I'm not an interior designer, but I feel like they sure did it. I feel like that all works together, so big plus is the color theory of the room. But then, if we look over here, is the best part of the room, where there's just one absolute banger of a feature, which appears to be some type of water fountain, but then floating in the water fountain are 3 trees, which all seem to be sitting on their own discrete hill of beans. Which I'm also not a botanist, but I can only imagine that these piles of beans help the trees grow, or at least feel healthy and nutritious. However, big negative, and this is already calling back to our adventure in Limsa Lominsa, is there's nowhere to sit aside from bed. So either you're sitting in bed, or you're standing. You're just standing around in the inn room, and that feels like there's just a lack of planning of the space on the innkeeper's part. Don't know what I'm doing in this room if I'm not in bed. So this one gets overall a 7 out of 10. It gets plus points for being nice to look at, good color scheme, and the piles of beans with trees growing out of them. But it still has a big, dumb, insulting window, and also it's a pretty egregious fire hazard. So 7 out of 10 on this one. Okay, moving over to Ul'dah, and I would just like to apologize to all of the Ul'dah fans, which from the comment section of my last video, I gather there are 2 of you, so apologies to both of you. But this in-room is not great. It's maybe the worst one in the game. It's really bad, because it also feels like a jail cell. Actually, you know what this reminds me of? This feels like if you've ever seen somebody get in really bad trouble in this game, and then they get taken to a dungeon where the developers tell them to not be bad anymore. This looks like one of those. It looks like a place you'd be taken where a real Square Enix employee tells you to stop being mean to people in chat. So I don't like that, and to add insult to insult, it's got the big fake windows again. I don't know who they think they're fooling, but it ain't me. I do like that there's a big, seemingly fake lettuce growing out of this potted plant. So overall, this in-room gets a 6 out of 10. It should probably be lower because I called it the worst in the game, so I take back my score immediately, and it gets a 4 out of 10. Sorry, Ul'dah. Be better. Okay, our next one is in Heavensward. It's in Ishgard, and it's in a really cool area called the Forgotten Night. Don't know what that means, but it's evocative. But heading into the room proper, your first impression might be, wow, this place looks like a big piece of shit. And to that I would say, correct, but also, isn't that kind of neat? Because it looks like a place where a guy who hates dragons lives. Yes, it does still have the fake windows, but here they feel like they're setting a bit of a mood. It's blindingly bright out there. It's unpleasant because all this guy could think about is killing dragons. He has no time for scenery. There's nowhere to sit in the room. There's just bottles strewn about because he's getting plastered every night thinking about how sad all those dragons are going to be when he kills them with his big sword. And it also reminds me of the Heavensward trailer, where the fake main character puts on his cool dragon clothes and goes off to war. I think that's very, very cool. This feels like a Monster Hunter house to me, and for that reason, it gets a 9 out of 10. You can make up for looking kind of shitty by being kind of cool. Okay, the next one is in Kugane, and I'll be honest with you, this might be the first time I have ever entered it in my entire life, so it was a fun little surprise for me. But walking into it, it lives in a cool kind of hotel room building. But then you walk in, and I don't know about you, but I feel immediately calmer and more restful just for being in this room, because you can walk forward just a few steps, and you have this nice little low table where you can write down your thoughts of the day while being watched over by a guy in a bug suit. But what's that, you might ask? Is that a breeze I feel in the back of my neck? And we look over to the left, and not only is it a window, but it's a real window. It's not fake. It's not a texture that's just glowing. There's a hole in the wall, and you can look right on through. And what's through that portal but the big, wide open world that you can look at all the livelong day? You retire from a long day of adventuring, you can gaze out here upon the city and plan your next adventure. Or don't think about anything at all and just whittle the hours away watching the sunset in beautiful, beautiful Kugane. This wins it so many points, and that's not even getting to the other corners of the room where there's some type of tea pot fire table, and that's great. I can imagine myself sitting here and drinking tea. So overall, I give the Kugane in-room a 9 out of 10. I think it's really, really good because it has a window. It pioneered window technology. It walked so others could fly, and we'll see them fly later on, but for now, Kugane also gets a 9 out of 10. And you might now be asking, if that was 9, how could it possibly get better? What's a 10? Well, we're about to find out. We're here in the Crystarium, and I just want to say the lead up to this one gives a good first impression. If I book a hotel and I walk up and I see this, I'm thinking, I don't want to go on my vacation anymore. I just want to spend all my time in a hotel, because whatever's behind those doors ought to be pretty good. And once we do head through those doors, what do we see? But a big, beautiful window. There's also a very distracting bird in the window, and he is making eye contact with you directly. So please do try to ignore the bird and look at what's important, which is this big, beautiful window. I came here at nighttime so we can look at the night sky. We can gaze upon it, and look how nice. It's so nicely framed. You walk in and bam, there's the window. They knew exactly what we wanted out of an in-room. We just wanted a room with a window to look out, and that's not even looking at the rest of the room. And the rest of the room is great. There's a whole kitchen with multiple chairs around the table. You can invite 3 of your closest friends if you have those. But then we go to the opposite side of the room, and boy howdy does it, if it doesn't just get better. There's a whole ass elevation change in this room, and that, I think that's fun, because then when you get out of bed and go to the kitchen, you can look behind you and see how far you've come. If I'm being honest, I am also giving this one points because it is very story relevant. There's some pretty good cutscenes that take place in this in-room where a sad ghost comes and visits you, and normally that's not what you want out of a hotel. You normally don't want sad ghosts to be anywhere near you, but in this case, the sad ghost is your friend and has a nice, calming voice. So he's a welcomed presence, and he's also my best friend. So this one gets a perfect score, 10 out of 10 from me. Okay, so I did say earlier that the Ul'dah Inn was the worst one in the game, but that's because I hadn't recorded this part yet, and now that we're here in Sharlayan, we're actually about to see the worst inn room in the game, because it's this piece of shit. This room sucks really bad. This sucks so bad from so many different perspectives and angles. First of all, let's just tackle the biggest, most egregious bullet point here, which is that we went from window to another even better window to this piece of shit, which is another fake window that I don't want to look at. And not only is it a fake window that is insulting to my eyes and intelligence, but it looks like the goddamn door to darkness from Kingdom Hearts, and I'm afraid if I open this fake window, which certainly doesn't actually open because it's fake, but I'm afraid if I open it, that Ansem the Wise is gonna pop out, and I don't want that. But then we look over here at these tables, and somebody just left their shit everywhere. They just left all of their chores and science experiments all over, and I don't want anything to do with that. I'm here to relax, not think about chores and science. So the Sharlayan Inn Room gets a 2 out of 10. That's a big step down, and I don't know if they're gonna recover. Alright, so, full honesty, I have not been in the Dawntrail Inn Room yet, so I don't know how this video is going to end. It could be great, it could be a big disappointment, but just judging by the outside, where they got a bunch of beach bungalows all lined up in a line, I'm feeling pretty positive on this one. If it looks as good on the inside as they do on the outside, I think we're in for a treat. So let's talk to the person, and... Oh,